Hello, hello, and welcome. We are doing an unusual live stream at 9:30 at night, almost here in the Eastern Daylight Time, and I am excited to be going over a couple of things with you that I think that everyone wants to know. What is happening with our money? Why are we broke all of the time? Why? Let's talk about it. Why are we broke? Let's let YouTube sign on here just a second. Why are you broke? And I don't mean broken, because we all have situations and problems, but why are you financially broke? Why are you living paycheck to paycheck? Why is it that it just seems like you cannot overcome the ridiculous financial problems? Why is it that you feel stuck all of the time? We are going to go over that today. We're going to talk about why you're in the situation you're in. And we're going to get YouTube straightened out here because you guys are a little bit blurry. There you go. Okay. So we are going to talk about this. Why are you broke? What is going on that you continually stay in this cycle of you get a paycheck and you look and it's gone. It literally just dissipates through your fingers. It's gone. And we want to talk about that too much. And I'm not going to pretend that we don't have some crazy spenders out there. I know what it's like to live with a spender. I understand, you might be in a situation with a spouse to where you're just totally always broke. Let me see here if I can bring a little bit of understanding to you about my own situation and how I felt when I lived this broke life. And don't act like you're not out there. I know you are. I know that you know what I'm talking about, or you wouldn't be on this channel right now. If you're on the TikTok and you want to learn more about what we're talking about, I am Christy VANN with VANNtastic Finances, and I teach people not how to get frugal. I'm not frugal. I don't want you to be frugal. I want to know where my money is going and why I'm working my butt off and I still feel like that I'm broke. Are you in that situation? If you are, I'm going to give you real life information to transform what's going on with your finances. I'm going to show you a couple of really good scenarios that I have with people who feel like they're paycheck to paycheck, but you're not. The funny, most wonderful thing about what we're going to talk about tonight is even if you feel like that you are broke, I'm here to tell you you're probably not. If you make $5,000 a month, and let me tell you, $5,000 a month in today's American economy doesn't get you very far. It doesn't. But I'm telling you, you have answers that you probably weren't even aware of, and we are going to talk about that tonight. I want to start by talking a little bit about myself and why I got into teaching you how to use your money. I, in 2008, was in a place of complete devastation, okay? Going through a divorce, having to literally run with the clothes on my back. Yes, because I was getting out of a volatile marriage. So me and my children had nothing. That was the Christmas where we had no Christmas. That's not been that long ago. You know, I can't believe that we're in the year 2025, but I suffered financially, not just financially. I was going through so much emotional trauma trying to figure out how, one, I was going to probably stay alive, two, how in the world was I going to support myself when I had literally left my home and everything else to get safe. Okay. Are you in that situation? If you are, breathe. Okay. I want you to breathe, because if I can come out of it, you can. And it's super important. I have a real faith in God that I was not using at the time, because I thought I getting times to where you are lost. You don't know what to do. You don't know what you're going to do. You feel like you have nowhere to turn, and you're starting at ground zero with nothing. If I can come up, you can come up. And I'm excited to tell you that as a woman, I'm not knocking men. Men are awesome. Just saying that as a woman, if I can come up out of that deep, dark space, you can too. And I want you to be encouraged. I want you to be encouraged. I was in the 17-year marriage that was completely over. Okay. I could no longer stay in that position. I knew that it was a matter of time before something major hit my life and my children. I had to get out of that situation. So, how do you prepare for something like that? You don't. It's a moment's notice, right? You're out and you're on your own, and you're trying to figure out, okay, where are we going to live? What are we going to do? How are we going to eat? I mean, you got all kinds of questions running through your mind when you're in a volatile situation. Regardless, the Lord just kind of let me walk through a fog. And as I was walking through the fog, things started clearing up for me. They started unfolding. And I went and picked up a job. And at the time, don't laugh, but I was going to be making $450 a week at this new position after I had been making $500 a week. I know, right? I know, like that's no money. And that's what I'm saying. If I can come out of this dirty, nasty situation, I know you can. And I'm here to give you a little bit of hope and tell you that if you're in a wonderful marriage, if you're in a wonderful situation, if you make $10,000 a month, then I'm happy for you. But I'm also here to tell you that my average client now makes $10,000 a month, and they're broke. They're broke. And for you guys that are out there and you're making 5,000 a month or less, you're like, if I made 10,000 a month, I wouldn't be broke. I would be able to handle my finances. No, you wouldn't. No, you wouldn't. Why? It's only because you are in a system that is set up to take your money. When you're in a system that's set up to take your money, then you feel like you're in the wrong. You feel like you are doing something wrong. You sit down and you write down your numbers. How many of you sit at the kitchen table writing down your numbers? Please comment, because I want to see how many of you guys do like I used to do, and you sit and you just write down your debt. You just praying to God some miracle is going to pop up and you're going to be able to pay that bill that's due August 1st. Can you believe that we're almost in August? That's amazing. What I am getting at is I prayed for answers, and he opened up the windows of heaven literally for me that I never even knew was there. And if you've not been watching this channel before, then you just have stepped into heaven. Financially, your stress is over if you will just listen and learn. Oh my goodness, I just can't say that loud enough and clear enough. please know that you are going to be okay financially. You're going to be. I don't care what you're in, what situation right now. I see them all. I've been doing this a long time now. I see you, I hear you, and I cry with you when you come to me and we're doing these one-on-ones and people are in desperate situations. I hope that everybody watching right now, I hope you are calm, cool, and collected and your finances are in order. But I want to tell you that 90% of Americans are probably crying themselves to sleep tonight because they're trying to figure out how they're going to make it financially. My mission, you ready? My mission is to get this word out to you. Get this word out to you that you are going to be in places you never dreamed possible financially if you will hold on and you'll just get yourself educated. You're going to get excited. We are going to be talking about, I think I'm going to do a couple of scenarios that I have going on right now with people I'm meeting with. And we're going to talk about what's going on with their money because I see it. I don't know. Is that like a gift from God that when I see your worksheets, I'm like, no, you're not a spender, honey. You're not a spender no more than I am. You're just putting your money in the wrong place. And when we talk about what this looks like here in a minute, you're going to go, oh my goodness, I had no idea because I had no idea. And when I found out the truth about your money and what all of this banking stuff is doing to it, it changed my financial life and my whole life. And I want your life to be changed as well. So that's what we're going to talk about. What main question here? Why are we not taught how to use a bank for debt elimination only to make payments? Have you ever asked yourself that question? Have you ever asked yourself, why is it that I know how to make payments? I know what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm supposed to be making my payments and I'm making them on time, but I feel like I can't breathe. Thank you so much, Gone with Rob. I appreciate that. I appreciate your comments. So why is it that most of us have never even thought about our payments? We're thinking, I'm making my payments. What does that mean? I gave an illustration in a couple of lives ago. It's maybe like last week about the guy that came to me and he had the motorcycle loan and he wanted to upgrade his motorcycle. And he had paid 30-some thousand for this motorcycle that he currently had, and he had been paying on it for a couple of years. When he went to do the upgrade, of course, they needed the payoff of his other motorcycle, his current one. And he was so excited because he thought he had almost paid the motorcycle off. But when he called to get his payoff, borrowed, which I believe was 36,000, and he said his payoff was at 33,000, something like that. And he said I was so shocked because I'd been making payments for 2 years. And he said I'm just assuming the balance is way down. And he said when they told me what my balance was, which was about 33,000, he said I couldn't believe it. He said that's when the light came on and I'm like, what have I been paying for? I know what he was paying for. Do you? He was buying the bank. He was buying the bank a motorcycle before he got to pay for his. Is that fair? Of course it's not fair. Life's not fair. So if you think life's supposed to be fair, here's your wake-up call. Life's not fair. So figure it out. We're playing a chess game here. We're playing a chess game in our finances, and we think that the game's set up and we have to play it their way, but we don't. And it's not because it's anything dirty. We're not tricking anybody. We're not trying to, you know, we're not trying to do the banks dirty. We just want to pay for our stuff. We bought the stuff, we bought the house, we bought the motorcycle, we bought the car. We want to pay for our things. We don't have a problem with that. But it just seems like that month after month after month, we're making these payments and we're not seeing our debt go down. And I don't know, does anybody in the room think that's fair? Has anybody in the room ever thought, wait a minute, I should be out of this debt by now. I've been paying on my home for 10 years. I should have really been paying a lot of that debt off. But then when you go look and you ask for your payoff, it's nowhere near what you thought it was going to be. Let's do a little bit of math here just so that we can kind of show you what I'm talking about when I'm talking about monthly payments. And I think I'll use a real illustration. Let's see here. You know what? Let me pull up. I'm on the YouTube channel here, and I'm going to pull up an amortization schedule. Do you know what an amortization schedule is? An amortization schedule is it a scam? I don't want to call it a scam. Let's don't call it a scam. Let's call it a really ingenious idea that some guy came up with, some woman came up with, and they said, how can we make a lot of money? Well, I know what we'll do. We'll put people on a schedule and we'll have them make their payments. They're going to be glad to make their payments because, I mean, they're getting a $300,000 home and they're making about $1,500 a month in payments. And they'll be happy with that because they get this huge, nice home for just $1,500 a month. And when you look at your expenses and your income, you're like, I can afford $1,500 a month. Let's do it. And we're all on board and we're so excited because we get to move into our new house. Well, when you go down the road a little bit, you're like, this is exhausting. I'm paying on this house. I ought to be, getting close to paying it off, and you're still making $1,500 payments. So when they have us set up on an amortization schedule, that means that half of your payment is going to principal and half is going to interest. I don't think so. So that's what I'm going to show you. Is we're going to talk about how much interest are you paying on a mortgage. So let me pull up my amortization calculator, and I'm going to put in 350,000, okay? So 350,000 is going to be our principal amount that we're going to borrow, and we're going to put that, let's see, the rate right now is what? 6 to 7%. I'm going to lower it. I'm going to put it at 5%. So let's do a 5%, $350,000 mortgage for 30 years. And let's talk about what we've got. So if you want to pull up your amortization schedule, I'm using Brett Whistle right now. You can use Carl's mortgage calculator, whatever you would like to use, but we are going to talk about why we are broke and what is happening with our money. Okay, so we got a home. $350,000 is the value. That's what we paid for it anyway. That's not necessarily the value, but that's what we've paid at 5%. Well, let me just make this at 5% interest. Okay. Some of you guys may have a 3% right now. If you got your home loan around 21, you may have a 3%. If you've got it in 2025, you possibly got a 7%. So huge, huge, huge difference. Okay. All right. So 350,000, your regular payment amount is going to be $1,878 per month. Now, this is before taxes and insurance, okay? This isn't with taxes and insurance. This is just the base payment for your principal amount. It's 30 years, 5%. So if you're looking with me on the amortization schedule, you're going to see that your 5% interest is actually, is it 5% or is it 93.256%? What? Now, Christy, how can this be? They told me I got a 5% mortgage. Why are you saying it's 93.25%? Well, the way I do it basically, so if you have a 3% mortgage, you'll do the same thing here, but I'm using 5%. So do 5 times 2, and that equals 10, right? Now, are you paying 10% interest instead of 5? You wish. Add a 0. 100%. What does that mean you're going to pay for this home if it's at 100% interest? Basic math, right? Aren't you going to pay about $350,000 on top for $350,000 you owe on your home? Does that seem unrealistic? Am I telling a fib? All you have to do is pull up your amortization schedule and go with me. So if you have any, whatever your rate is, take it times 2, then add a 0 to your answer, and you're going to get really close to what your amortization schedule is actually charging in interest. Now, 5% in this situation is a 93.25%. Well, how do I know that? I mean, come on, Christy. Like, that's like fraud or something, right? Well, if you bought a home, go look at your closing cost statement where you signed your contract to purchase the home, and you're going to see in the closing cost section, probably the 3rd page halfway down, it's going to tell you 5% is not your actual interest rate. They have to disclose that now. That's not me. I'm looking at a schedule on my computer right now, okay? So if you're paying 93.25%, that's a lot of money. Did you just have a light go off in your head that said, what? What? I'm not broke? I'm paying it in interest? Very possible, but we're going to keep talking here. Let's keep moving down. So with this situation, if they allow this to go 30 years, they will pay a total of $676,400 basically. Wait, I just bought a $350,000 home. I know, right? That's what we're going to be talking about today is why are you broke? Well, you're getting ready to get stirred here if you haven't heard this before. But I think it's super important that you understand I'm working with a mortgage, okay? What about your car loan? So let's talk about this amortization schedule a minute. I hope y'all can see this. I hope I'm staying on the screen with you. Now, if the payments here are $1,878, let's break down what this $1,878 payment is actually going to so that you can kind of see in a visual what's happening. Now, I am not a teacher. I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not an accountant. I'm not an attorney. I am here sharing my personal experiences with you. But I was not aware this was happening in my finances. And I just want to make you aware. If you know it, fine, you can go watch some other channel. But if you don't know this, then hang around because this is going to open your eyes as to why you're broke and why you don't have any savings. Do you know how many 60-year-olds that I work with that don't have a dime to their name saved up, but yet they've been making mortgage payments their whole life? Okay, go with me. Now, out of the $1,878 per month, their first payment will be, out of the $421 approximately is going to what? Interest? your $350,000 mortgage. Where did the rest of this payment go? Well, if you look at your interest, it's $1,458 approximately. I'm not putting the change on here. I'm showing you what's happening. So 421 is principal, and principal is what you actually owe on the amount you borrowed. $1,458. It's like a bird with wings, and it just took off and it just flew. It just flew away. Why? Because you're totally throwing your money away in interest. Okay? Please don't take my word for it. Please go look at your contract or pull up an amortization schedule and follow me. Let's go to month two. Month two, $1,878 you paid. And how much of that went to what you actually bought, which was your $350,000 home? Well, you're going to pay approximately $422 went onto your principal of your home, while $1,456 went to where? Where did this go? It flew away. It's gone. It's gone. So let's go to month three. You're going to pay $424 approximately. Where? This goes to the home you bought. And then you've got $454 that went where? Right? Your money is not being useful. Your money is going to what? It's going to buy this bank a home first with these interest payments. And your little baby ones, these little baby $400 amounts, is going to pay off your property. So we're 3 months in here, right? So you've made $1,878 per month, which means, let's see, what does that mean? 1,878 times 3. You've paid $5,634 up to your third month. So your total payments have been $5,634, right? The total that you've actually got to pay on your home out of this $5,634 is $1,267 approximately. So if you look at your bank statement, your third month in, on making $5,600 in payments, you're going to see that your balance of your home is about $348,733. What? Wait, I paid $5,600, but I mean, do the math. That's not no 5,600. No. It's not. It's 1,200 in your property. How much did you pay out of this 5,634 into interest only? $4,369. So, okay. $4,369 went where? Where did it go? Do I need to do the bird scene again? It's gone. It's gone. It flew away. You'll never get that back. You just threw away $4,369 of your hard work that you do to bring home income. You made a choice. Probably didn't know you were making the choice, but you thought you had to do this. So let's go down the road a little bit. So let's say that we are 1 year into making mortgage payments on this home. So we're going to go down to month 12. You've been making $1,878 payments for 12 months. That's $22,536. Is that right? Yeah, 536. So this is the payments that you've made so far for 12 months. How much of $22,536 is going to come off of your $350,000 balance after 1 year? Well, according to the amortization schedule, you have paid $5,164 towards your $350,000 balance, right? So $5,164 has gone to help you pay for your home, while $17,382 went where? Where? Out of this $22,536 that you paid for 12 months, where did the $17,382 go? Don't make me do the bird scene again. It's gone. Okay? It's gone. Do you have a choice? Do you have a choice in this? You absolutely have a choice to stop this. How can we stop this? Okay, so if this is reality of how we're throwing away our money, and they say these, oh, I don't want to call names, gurus, financial gurus are out here telling you you are broke because you spend money on eating out. I want to see a hand in the air of you guys that have heard somebody say that on YouTube, on any financial channel. The reason you're broke is because you are going to eat out. Cannot afford. You are an idiot, right? You've heard them. I've heard them. I lived under them for a while. I tried to do it their way. I tried to do the envelope system. I was taking the baby steps. The baby steps did nothing for me. If you're in that situation, maybe if you learned how to use this amortization schedule, if you're in a home, maybe that would be your saving grace. So let's look at it. $350,000. How can we stop what this schedule is doing to us? Now I'm going to go back to the amortization schedule that I have pulled up here on the mortgage calculator. Anybody can pull one up. Please go with me. What would happen if in month 1 or whatever month you're in with your mortgage that you did a $10,000 chunk onto this $350,000 balance? Okay. If you did the chunk, wouldn't your new balance be $340,000? Well, sure it would. 10,000 off of 350 is going to be 340. So if you're looking at this amortization schedule that's actually, you can pull up and read it yourself. Let's go onto the schedule and look where the balance of 340,000 is on the schedule. Oh, wait, what? What? So this 10,000 chunk jumped this schedule for 22 months. So you went from month 1, where you were paying the $1,458 in interest on payment 1, to 22 months down the road. How much interest did that save you? Because remember, you're making $1,878 payments, and I just showed you how much interest is coming out each payment. But if you were to do a chunk, 10,000 is going to jump you ahead 22 months. And guess what? you had 10,000 apply to your actual amount here. And remember, if I just was showing you that in the 12th month, you would have paid 17,382 in interest, right? If you did this chunk, if you applied this into your mortgage, jumping the 22 months, how much interest would you have saved? What would you do if somebody handed you $31,667 and saved you 22 months on your mortgage? You went from a 30-year all the way down to almost a 28-year with one chunk. So I know what some of you are saying, yeah, but I don't have $10,000. How am I going to do a $10,000 chunk onto a mortgage when I'm paycheck to paycheck? Good question. So there are these things at the bank. They're called revolving lines of credit. And they're over 680. And I know what you're saying now is, why would I trade debt for debt? Why would I take a $10,000 chunk out of a line of credit and apply it onto another debt? So now I not only have a mortgage, but I have a line of credit that I have to pay for. I know you're saying that. Somebody out there is saying that right now. Well, if we saved 22 months with a $10,000 chunk, now we're going to talk about how do we eliminate this $10,000 chunk and save the $31,667 in interest. All right, so I'm going to write this over here. We're saving $31,667 in interest only. We've jumped 22 months of payments. So 22 months disappeared on our loan. Now we're going to be talking about how these chunks come about. Now you owe $340,000 on your home instead of the $350,000. Okay, so a $10,000 chunk, and you know, the lines of credit are a little higher in interest. So let's act like that this one is a 12% interest rate. Now, that's pretty high for right now. So if I'm going 12%, remember this mortgage was 5%. Do you remember? This $350,000 original amount was financed at a 5% interest rate. And I'm telling you to look at a 10 or 12% interest rate. That doesn't even make sense. If we know that temperature can be measured in Fahrenheit or Celsius, still a measurement of temperature, but different, right? Because why? It gives you two different numbers, doesn't it? If you measure temperature at Celsius, it's going to look a whole lot different than temperature at Fahrenheit, right? So what if we looked at this amortized interest, or the interest in an amortization schedule? I'll say it that way for elementary terms. Okay. And then we look at this line of credit as a simple interest. So the interest on the schedule, and I'm going to do this right quick. This is your schedule where you're making that $1,878 a month payments, right? The interest on the total $350,000 mortgage that you got has been put into this schedule. So they're charging you the interest over the whole amount. Yeah, did you just hear what I said? They're charging you the interest over the whole amount. Then when they put it in the schedule, that's why you have so much interest. Are they front loading it? I didn't say that, but it sure looks like it. It sure looks like it. Okay. So with the schedule already preloaded your interest in those payments. Now, with this $10,000 chunk that I'm telling you you could make if you felt like it, you are going to pay the 12% interest. So let's pretend that we're going to let the interest sit on this $10,000 over that same 22-month period that you just paid forward on your amortization schedule, and see how much interest 12% is compared to 5%. Okay, are you ready? Here we go. Take 10,000 times 12%. Do it on your own calculator with me. 10,000 times 12% equals $1,200. Now this is $1,200 per year, okay? For every day $10,000 sits on this line of credit, you're going to pay $1,200 per year. Now, let's divide that by 12 months to see what you would pay in interest per month. So divided by 12, that equals $100 of interest. Okay, so over a 12-month period, you're going to pay $1,200 on this 12%. 12, everybody say 12, not 5. 12. You're paying $100 per month. Now let's take that times 22 months, because remember, that's what the schedule skipped over here on the mortgage when we applied the $10,000 to the balance that you owe. So 100 times 22, that's pretty basic math, $2,200. What? Wait, I paid $31,667 on a 5% mortgage for 22 months. How in the world am I only paying $2,200 for that $10,000 chunk that I did over here? What does that mean? 31,667 minus 2,200. What does that mean? So let's do the math. 31,667, 2,200. You saved $29,467 in interest only with one $10,000 chunk. And you lost almost 2 years on your schedule, meaning that your 30-year mortgage went down to almost 28, right? 28 years. Doing one chunk. Now, we don't allow $10,000 to sit on this line of credit because now we do velocity banking. And velocity banking, when you run your numbers, you're going to see that you're not going to pay anywhere near $2,200. You're not going to pay anywhere near $1,200 for 1 year. How does that work? How is it that the mortgage had $31,667 over a 22-month period, but the same $10,000 only cost you $1,200 in a year and $2,200 for 22 months if you allow it to sit there? Okay, so I want you to think. You were given a mind by God. Use it. Okay? It's not you. It's not you. It's the system. This is a chess game. How can we move the chess pieces around a little bit so that we have a shot at saving our money? That's what I want you to understand. This is so easy that you're just not going to believe how fast your debt pays off when you're doing little baby steps like this. So we're going to start with the 10,000 again. with that 12% interest, and we're going to show you why you won't even pay that $1,200 per year that I just showed you in interest. So let's say you make $5,000 per month, and this is your income, your bring home. And let's say you have $4,500 that you pay out in monthly expenses. Okay, now yes, that would include this $1,878 payment that you're making on your home every month. So let's just do the math. 4,500, 1,878, 2622 would be the leftovers, your property taxes and insurance, your food, your gas, your utilities, your phones. Okay, so you have your home payment and then you have your utility payments. All right, and food and gas and car insurance. You got to figure we got to pay all this stuff every month, right? So when you realize that 4,500 of your 5,000 is going to pay your expenses, including your mortgage payment, how does this help us with that 10,000 that we owe now to that revolving line of credit? Well, when you get paid, the way these revolving lines work is you can put your 5,000 income into this balance. Now, it doesn't matter if you're paid daily, weekly, bi-weekly, you just put in your income when you get paid. And what this does is it revolves, okay? So your income can go into the line, your expenses, your house payment, everything comes back out of the line as you need it. All right. So income can go in, expenses can come out. You're using this now basically as your checking account. All right. So what does that look like when we run numbers for how quickly this $10,000 is going to be paid off? There's a couple of things you need to know about the revolving line of credit and how it works. Now, this home loan that you have here, when you're making your $1,878 payments and you pay it to your mortgage, right? It goes in. What happens if you have a flat tire the day after you pay your payment? Can you say to the mortgage company, oh, wait a minute, I need $500 of that back because, well, guess what? I need to get my flat fixed. Do they say, oh yeah, hold on a minute, let me give it to you? No, of course not. So this goes in and it's gone. You can never pull it back out. They're not going to let you do that. But in the revolving that we were just talking about, it is open-ended, meaning if you put 5,000 in to this line and you need $500, you just pull it right back out. So what did that do? That made your money available to you. That's making your cash flow available. You're putting your money in to keep this balance down, which is doing what? Costing you less interest because you're doing this. All right, so if you can pull it back out when you need it, then you're not going to have that feeling in your chest that says, oh, I'm afraid to put my money into that loan because I can't get it back. But if you thought for 2 seconds, wait a minute, I can put my money in here, and if I have an emergency or if I need 50 bucks, I can pull it right back out of here. Is that for real? Yes, it's for real. It's beautiful. Okay, so back to the illustration of how we would get rid of this $10,000. So when your income goes in, you're going to reduce that balance. The banks on these revolving lines of credit charge interest on the average daily balance. Okay? Meaning that they don't take the high and charge that 12% interest. They don't take the low. They take the average. So the average of 10,000 high, 5,000 low would be $5,000. So your interest is going to be charged based on your average daily balance, not on your high. Okay, that's good information for when you get more educated as to what you're doing with your line of credit. But we still have to pay our expenses. So remember, we have $4,500 that we have to pay back out every month. So that takes you back up to $9,500. Now let's calculate the interest, because we already calculated this 10,000, what it was going to cost us of interest if it sits here at a $10,000 balance. And by the way, this works with your credit cards too. That would be $100 per month. What's it going to be based on the average daily balance? %, you're talking about to about $50, possibly, but let's just calculate it at 100. So we'll put it at the high interest, meaning at the end of month 1, the beginning of month 2, you have a $9,600 balance. Okay? Basic math. Basic math. You get the line, income revolves into it. You pull back out of it the expenses you need as they're needed. They're going to charge the interest on the statement date. You are working off a line of credit. Now, again, you're not going to pay $100 of interest if you're doing velocity banking with these lines of credit like I'm showing you here. So just based off running these numbers here, how long are we going to be into this line of credit? Well, let's do month 2. Your income goes in throughout the month again. Okay, now you're going to have your expenses come back out again. We have to pay for our stuff every month. They're due whether or not we want them to be. So you're at 9,100. Okay. Now let's calculate the interest here and see what it looks like that we might pay in interest. So your high for this month is 9,600 plus your low is 4,600. And then after your expenses come out, it's 9,100. So let's just see what the average is. Divided by 3. 77.66 times 12% divided by 12. You're going to pay about $78 in interest for this month, meaning your balance at the beginning of month 3 is $91.78. What happens if you have the flat tire tomorrow? Your money is in here, $91.78 your balance, but you have a $10,000 line. So you would grab your 100, 200, 500, whatever you need out of this line. But as long as you can leave your money sitting in here, it's going to be working this balance down and keeping the interest off of this account. Okay, that's what we're going for. Remember, we paid $31,667 in interest over here on this 5% mortgage for 22 months. We don't want to have any more interest than we have to. So let's go into month 3. You get paid. Your income goes in. Doesn't matter if it's daily, weekly, bi-weekly, monthly. You'll have to pay your expenses throughout the month, which is $4,500. Oh my goodness, do you see what's happening here? This is after we paid our expenses. Now let's do the average again on what our interest would be for month 3. So 91.78 plus our low of 41.78, 86.78. Divide that by 3. That's 7524.66 times the interest, 12% divided by 12. Now we're going to pay about $75 in interest. So starting at the beginning of month 4, you're going to have about $8,753 for your balance. And we are just going to keep working that balance down more and more and more. And it just gets more exciting from here because you no longer are worried about where's that 50 bucks going to come from if I need it, right? Because you're going to pull it out of here. The idea is if you do the math, the 5,000 income, your expenses 4,500, and then the interest that you're going to be paying throughout the life of the loan means that you're going to pay this off. The total 10,000 will be paid off in about 22 months. How much interest are you going to have compared to the 5% interest rate you had on the mortgage? If this runs out 22 months, what does that mean? So 22, and then your average interest, remember the high was 100. So that means you're going to pay about $1,100 in total interest for 22 months. This is the worst case scenario. A lot of you guys have a lot more cash flow than just the $500. It all depends on what your income looks like compared to your expenses. But this is the scenario of doing those chunks to get rid of this baby 5%. I don't think so. This is not a baby 5%. This is a ridiculous amount of money. And if you've been watching since we started the live, this was a 93+%, not 5%. Okay, so you have to learn the difference between the simple interest revolving line and then the amortization schedule and the interest that is calculated in that over the volume, right? Now, the crazy thing is we are not taught to use the bank for debt elimination. We're taught to use it to make payments, okay? So why don't most of us know that a 5% interest rate on a mortgage really totals almost 100%? Why don't we know that? Why don't we know that? Why don't we know how they work so that we can make decisions about, okay, we're getting a home loan, so let's look at picking up a line of credit too, so that we can really be hitting that mortgage, knocking it down to save us thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars in interest. Why? And, the point being, a lot of people say, well, yeah, but that's over, you're talking 30 years. Of course, you're going to pay that much interest over 30 years. Again, look at the amortization schedule. If you notice, why? Because they're charging you the volume of the 350,000, the interest there in that payment. And then they recalculate it for that next payment to have almost as much interest in it as well. When you're chunking down using a line of credit, you're able to cut your 30-year mortgage down to 10 years or less 90% of the time. Most of the people that I work with literally are out of their mortgages in 7 to 9 years. Car payments that you're making, that they've got you set up on a 72-month amortization schedule. Do you know how many people I have that have the car loans paid off in about 18 months? I know, moment of silence, right? Because that's hard to believe. All right. Now, I know what you're asking, some of you who don't know how this game is played. Yeah, but you're not counting the payment due on this line of credit because we're still making the house payment. How can we take on another payment? These lines of credit are just magic. They're magic. So when your income goes in, whatever they're charging you in this interest is satisfied. Do I need to say that again? Okay. When your income goes into a line of credit, you've satisfied the payment. You don't have a payment if you're depositing your income into this line. Now, let's break this down into reality. I have a couple of people I'm working with right now who are already into their mortgage, and we're talking about how are we going to eliminate that debt faster. Okay, so let me pull up the worksheet here and let's just look at what we've got going on. I'll look too to see if you have any questions. No questions really. I don't see any questions that are of value that I can. Oh, I've got an appointment with you tomorrow, Carly. How exciting! I can't wait to meet you either. See, what's the monthly payment on the line of credit? I answered that for you, Mavis. I hope that's satisfied when you put your income in. Heart like, you may need to go back to the beginning of the live that's on the YouTube channel. And you obviously missed it because you were saying, how does this help the mortgage to be paid faster? It's super, super simple if you saw the whole video. So please go back and watch this live when we finish it up because you'll understand. I went through it in elementary terms, okay? So you're going to be paying the house off very quickly. Let's see. So if you pay the 10,000 chunk towards the mortgage, you don't have to pay on the mortgage for 22 months. So no, that's why when I was showing the expenses that are coming back out of the revolving, yes, you're still making house payments, which is doing nothing but paying off your mortgage too. So the point is these chunks, oh, so sweet. Everybody's so kind. Thank you so much. So you're paying off the mortgage while you're working down the line of credit. Did you go get a second job? Did I hear, wait, did somebody hear me say I went and picked up a second job to save 22 months on my house payments and to eliminate, I didn't hear me say you had to go pick up a second job. Right? Okay. So no, this is about using the income you have. You're already wasting time away from your families, just because you do have to go to work. But why would we go get a second job when we have children at home that we want to see and enjoy? Why would we want to go deliver pizzas at night when we don't have to? Why would you do that? That is a demon that would tell you, hey, you need to forget you have kids. You need to work your overtime on your first job. Then you need to go ahead and pick you up a second job. And by golly, let's do some Uber late at night. And by the time you're done working and just to pay off this stupid debt, guess what? Your kids are grown like mine were. Because I was out working 7/12s on some jobs, trying to make the money to get the debt under control, having no idea what I was doing. I'm just being a good little girl. I'm paying my payments. I'm feeding my children that I never get to see. And you know what? I was in just as much debt after the 12-hour shift as I was when I went in that day, because I didn't know how to use my money. Okay, it's not about extra work. And of course, extra income is going to make this go faster. I'm totally into it if you're into it. But my kids were grown by the time I figured this out. And I don't want you to miss your kids growing up. That's very painful when you get older and you realize, well, they're out on their own. I at least fed them. That's not fair. That's not fair. Okay. Let me go to this scenario. This person has a very good income. I won't even tell their income yet, so you don't get mad because I'm showing it, but this is one of my average clients. So some people make decent money and they're still broke. So the debt is, what do they have? They have 2 mortgages. Yes, they do. So we've got a couple here that have 2 mortgages. And we're going to see how we can help them. Maybe. Okay, so one mortgage is a balance of $388,891. They have a value of $490, or $490,000. HELOC works. Let's talk about that first. When you have a value on your home at whatever, and depending upon your state, we're going to do 80%, some go 90%, but let's take 490,000 times 80%, that's 392. So $392,000. This would be the loan to value. But remember, this person owes $389,000 on their home. So there wouldn't be much value in a HELOC for this person because there's not going to be a large line available. 389,000. So that means they would be able to get a line of about 30,000 approximately. Okay. So this was an 80% loan to value of the 490. The more their percent is in their state, which some, like I said, is up to 89%, you would have a larger line. So if this is your scenario, this is kind of how you figure out how much you would be able to get in a line of credit. So let's imagine for a minute that they want to move into the first lien HELOC and they want to know what it would look like for a payoff, because this is a 30-year mortgage, okay? And this is at a 5.25% interest rate. Now we've already gone over all of this. So if you didn't catch the first of the video, please go back and watch it on YouTube, okay? So let's say that they say, hey, you know what? I think I can move this whole amount that I owe into a line of credit. Let's see what this looks like. So they owe $389,000. So $389,000 is their balance on their mortgage at the 5.25%, and that's the amortized. Remember, it's going to be over 100%. Actually, pull up the calculator, check it out. So they're making $2,352 per month in payments. Now, this does include their property taxes and insurance. Okay, so you have to calculate that in. And so their actual payment, it may be about probably $1,900 is what actually goes to the home loan. This includes their property taxes and insurance. Okay, so $1,900 is going towards their home. Then they have some other debt here. Let's see what they've got. They've got some credit cards. They've got small debt here of $2,517. That's got $114 payment per month. Now, the $389,000, they are going to pay that off into an 8 off the mortgage, okay? So they're paying it off and putting it into a line of credit at 8%. And you're like, oh my gosh, they're going from a 5.25 to an 8%. That's insanity. Why would you even do that? Well, let's just see what the numbers look like. All right, so we're going to take their income. I'm ready to show that now. Maybe. So their income is $13,500 per month. So they make $13,500. And we're going to have to calculate what their cash flow is. So $13,500. And then their home, remember, the total payment's $2,352. They have the smaller, they have the other home. We're not there yet. It's $3,580. Let's say $3,590 for that home payment. This is their investment home, their property. Okay. So this is that monthly payment. They have a couple of small things. So a total of $895 in extra payments on other debt. And then their living expenses. What do they pay for food, gas, car insurance, and all that other stuff? They pay $4,000, almost $4,100 in living expenses. Okay, so let's add this up. $3,590 plus $895 and $4,100. Now that's $8,585. Why is it that I didn't include the home payment that they're making on this one that we're moving from a mortgage into a line of credit? Why didn't I include that in this? Because they're paying the mortgage off, so that mortgage payment is gone, right? But we're going to add in what their property taxes and insurance look like per month so that we're just giving lots of room for what we need to do here. So $2,352, $1,900. So we're going to add $452 here to cover their property taxes and insurance. All right, so we're making sure all of our numbers are good. So they have total expenses of $9,037. Total expenses. This does include their investment home, the other debt payments they have, and all their living expenses from getting their hair cut to paying their tithe to everything. Okay, so here we go. We're going to forget that right now too. Let's just work on this. So their income goes into the line. This large line of credit has a checking account with it. So you're going to be this. It's called a first lien HELOC, or it's called an all-in-one. Okay, they have two different names depending on which bank you go with. So the income goes in. So $389 is the balance. $13,500 is going to go in. Doesn't matter if they're paid daily, weekly, bi-weekly, monthly. It goes into the account as they get paid, just like a direct deposit. So $375,500. Okay, now they have to pay their expenses every month. So let's add $9,037 and total expenses comes back out. Now remember, they're currently in a 30-year mortgage that they still owe 23 years on, okay? So they've paid on it for a while, but they still owe 23 years on their mortgage. When they move it into a line of credit, let's just see what the difference is going to be for them in payoff, okay? So we're going to do the 8% interest on this line. And I'm going to take an average because I want to kind of move through this quickly. So they're at 384 by the time they pay their expenses back out. Now we're going to calculate some interest here at 8%. So 2580 would be their first month's interest. Now, this is the highest interest that they're going to pay because this is going to keep coming down. But I wanted to show what the very first month is going to look like. If I'd line up my numbers, I could do this easier. Okay, so how long will it take them to pay off this $389,000 if they're using the revolving line of credit, just like I've been showing you throughout this line? I'm going to do some basic math here to calculate even with the 8% interest, okay? I'm showing everything. Let's see what this looks like. So their income, their expenses, and then their interest, the average on that. So this would be paid off, this $389,000 would be paid off in 134 months. What does that equal in years? 11.5 years max. Now, they still lack to 23 years. We literally just cut that in half. Did they get another job? Did they start doing Uber? No, no. They just used a revolving line of credit. So you guys who are sitting out there paying 6 and 7% in interest right now, think about what you're doing. Think about how you could cut a 30-year mortgage down. Maybe to 7, 8, added everything into this that you can add when it comes to your monthly expenses. Another thing that I absolutely love about these large lines is, let's say that they get, I don't know, maybe 6 months down the road, and they've been trucking right along and they're doing really good. So let's just kind of calculate what 6 months looks like. And we'll keep the interest about the same just because there's not going to be much change here at the beginning. So you've got 9037, then your 2580. So the cash flow here with the high interest that they'll only pay 1 month will be their high interest based on the very first month of their loan or their line. That's $1,883 is their cash flow, okay? So the cash flow is sitting in this balance, just keeping the balance low to keep the interest charges down, okay? So if they do this for 6 months, they're going to have about $11,300 available in this line of credit that if they need to have a car repair done, if they need to, go to the doctor, then the money is sitting in here growing. The balance is coming down. The escrow is going, not the escrow. Your cash flow is going up, that's sitting in here, meaning that you have this equity available. Now remember, when we first did this, they had an available equity of about 30,000 that will be available sitting in this line for them to use. It's just going to keep going up because every month that they revolve their income into this line, it's going to be working the balance down. That's why they're paying off the home in less than 12 years instead of 23 years in this scenario. Okay, I hope that you guys, I'm trying to go really slow, but I just want you to understand the difference in interest and how is it simple? Is an amortization schedule? You know, it's very super simple. You're just not taught to understand that there's two different types of interest out there. Okay. And it is very exciting, very quick to get out of debt when you understand how to use these lines of credit. I want to try one more before I end here tonight because I want to give you all a good idea of what is going on with credit cards. Let me see if I can pull up another example here that gives you a better example of what your scenario might be. Let's look at this one. Okay. Okay, this one's a good one. This lady has credit card number 1. She has a bunch. She has 10 credit cards. I'm only going to do 3 just to give you a balance of $1,207, and she pays $150 per month. Credit card number 2 has a balance of $933, and she's paying about $100 a month. Credit card number 3 has a balance of $32.31, and she pays $200 a month. Let's do one more. Care credit. Oh boy. So credit card number 4 is $1,100, and she pays $200 per month. Okay, so this is your credit card debt. 2, 4, 6, 50. So she's paying $650 per month onto these credit cards. And let's talk about the interest. This one is 18%. This one is 27.99%. The third one is 29.49%. And then the care credit is 30.99%. Wow. Okay. So let's now calculate the interest. And if you've not watched me do interest before, it's super easy. But let's take the 1207 balance times 18% equals, so get your calculator, 1207 times 18%, that's $217.26. Now let's divide that by 12. Did I do that right? 1207 times 18%. Yeah, divided by 12. So $18.10. $18.10 is going to be her interest out of this 150. Okay, that's not too bad. Let's go to the next one. 933 times 27.99% is 261.14. I'll write that down here. Erase this off. So 261.14 divided by 12. So $21 is interest approximately out of her 100. Now we're going to do 32.31 times the 29 0.49% divided by 12. So this is $79.40. And then the last one is 1,100 times 30.99% divided by 12. That's $28.40. Okay, so how much interest out of the 650 is she paying? So 28.40 plus 79.40 plus 21. And then 1810. 146.90 in interest only on these credit cards. Now, there would be a really simple way to do this, not even using any cash flow. But let's say that she were to get a $10,000 line of credit. She owes $1,100, $32.31, $933, and $12.07. That's only $64.71 that she owes for the total 4 cards. If she were to get a 7,000 line of credit somewhere, which should be super easy, pay all of these off into that one line of credit, having a $6,471 balance on the new line, and let's say it's at 18%, because the lines of credit are usually less than credit card interest rates. But we'll do 18%, even though my line of credit right now is, I think, 8 or 9%. Okay, so it's pretty low. So let's do the math. 64. Well, this person made $13,000 a month, right? If you make over $7,000 a month and you're in this scenario, your income would go in here to pay this off. What happened to this $650 a month you were paying? Didn't it go away because you moved them into one line? Your income goes in, eliminates that line, and now how much interest are you going to pay? Well, you were paying $147 a month here. Here, your income has gone in, paid that off, and now you just pay for your food, your gas, your utilities, whatever, right back out of this line. So you're not going to have interest because you're already paying your expenses every single month already. So you're not going to have this account increase. It's just going to be paying your expenses. You put your income back in to pay off the expenses every month. This is a super simple way to eliminate credit card debt. Super simple. Anybody can do this. If you have a credit score over 640, 650, you should be able to get into some kind of line of credit. Remember, this was 18%, but it doesn't even apply in this scenario because your income is going to go in, wipe it back down, and now you're free of credit card debt and payments. You've gained $650 a month in cash flow that can now be applied towards another debt. I know that that sounds like so simple that it's crazy, and you're like, I don't even know what she's on, but wow, that's just not the way the banks work. Well, I got news for you. It is, and yes, it's very possible to get a large HELOC. I'm going to answer a couple more questions before I end here. It's very possible, depending upon your equity. It's all depending upon your equity. I'm going to have to quit talking because my throat is going out. I have been working all day with people and it is about gone. Let's see. Maintain equal monthly payments. Principal payments on a mortgage just lowers the interest on the following month. The payment doesn't go down exactly. Okay, very good. We got some really smart people that's obviously doing this, obviously. Let's see here. Do we have any questions that are sensible that I can answer? I just hope you're all learning. It gets super easy once you've been in this for a while. I've been in this for a while. So to me, it's second nature. I know how to pay for things when I'm going to pay for things, and you'll get to that situation too, to where it's beautiful. I'm telling you, the vacations are no longer a problem. People are, that I heard that Americans take the least vacations of anybody in the world. And do you know why? It's because we're freaking broke. Who can afford to take their kids even a $2,000 trip overnight somewhere? And it's going to be that because everything's so dang expensive right now. But who in the world can afford to go on vacation? You can when you figure this out. Go to the YouTube channel if you're on TikTok. Go to the YouTube channel, VANNtastic. Watch the videos. They're free. They're free. Videos are free. You can watch them all day long. Get educated. There's so many scenarios on the channel that's going to teach you what you need to do with your money. And it's free. I love free. I'll never forget the first time I heard about velocity banking from Matthew Pillmore, and I'm getting ready to meet with him again. I want to do a video for the channel. I want to introduce you guys to him again because he is, in my mind, a lifesaver, because he brought me into the wisdom. Now, I had been asking the Lord for it, and I give God all the glory, but he brought Matthew Pillmore into my life with one video. One. And I took that one video where I saw, wait a minute, there's a difference between the tools at the bank. A line of credit is something different from a loan. Blew my mind, people. I want to blow your mind. I want you to realize you do not have to live paycheck to paycheck. You do not. It's just the way you're taught to think. That's literally all it is. And if they can keep you paying interest onto these lines of credit, if they keep you paying interest onto the loans, then you're going to have to go work, and then you're going to work more, and you're going to do overtime, and thank the Lord that the overtime taxes have been removed up to $12,500. So if you are working overtime, if you work in the food industry and Uber, whatever, and you're getting tips, thank the Lord, you're not going to have to pay taxes on those anymore up to $25,000. That just gives you more money to really get serious about getting out of debt. And once you learn how to use the line of credit, wow, your financial world is going to be exploding in beautiful things, because you're going to see that debt come down, and you're going to see it come down very, very quickly. And I'm excited for you because I'm reading your comments. I work with you daily. I know what you're going through and how much peace you're finding. And that makes me so happy for you. So happy for you. Okay? So a lot of you have been asking about the master class that we're getting ready to do August the 2nd. I'll have a link under the YouTube video if you want to join that. The master class, I'm going to tell you what it does. It's 5 weeks. Okay? So 5 weeks on Saturday morning at 10 a.m. Eastern time. And that starts August the 2nd. And it's going to go all through the month of August. So 5 weeks, 5 Saturdays. By September the 1st, when the 3-day conference that we're going to be having starts, if you've been in the 5 weeks, you're going to be ready for the conference because it's going to be exciting. We're going to bring in Chris Noggle. Yes. We're going to bring in Matthew Pillmore, JJ the CPA, Alex Alberin. We're going to be bringing these speakers together in that 3-day conference. I hope you'll join us if you want to, fine. If you don't, fine. But the fact is, the 5 weeks, this is the master class that I do. And I also bring in people like the Money Max. So they'll talk to us about how the Money Max works. We'll have a person there talking about infinite banking. If I can write. Hope you can tell that that's an N. Infinite banking. We're going to have someone come in and talk to a class about that. I'm going to be going over the velocity banking scenarios you can use. I'm going to be teaching you, again, the difference between the line and the loan. I'm going to be working with your worksheets as possible so that we can answer some of your questions. It's in a group setting, so you're going to be able to ask questions at the end of every meeting. These are recorded, so if you miss one, you can pick up the recording and watch it. And it's only $125 for the whole month of August, okay? I'm not taking it any lower than that. I'm doing it because I'm putting time into you as a group, giving you all the information I can possibly throw at you, okay? So if you're interested in looking into the masterclass, go to the YouTube channel. I'm sure there'll be a link underneath the video. This live we're doing right now, we'll have a link to that as well. Just a way that you can get a personal touch on your numbers, maybe. But the fact is the videos are free. If you're serious about getting out of debt, and you are, because if you weren't, you would not be watching this channel right now. You had to do something to look this up. And the videos are free. So I want you guys to get educated. I want you to realize that if you're here and you've been praying about it, this is your answer to your financial mess that you may be in. And I want you to get excited. I want you to get so excited about your finances and taking those vacations again and going out to eat meals with your family again and, buying the things that you need. It feels so good because I could afford nothing. And when this world was opened up to me and I was able to start seeing some cash flow, some actual savings that I had, I was so relieved. Peace. That's all you want. I know it. That's all I want. And I want that for you. So I'm praying that the favor of the Lord is all over you. I pray that your mind will open up to this wisdom and that you get excited about your life again, because I know that they say finances are not the #1 cause of divorce, but I beg to differ, because if you are in a marriage and you have financial problems, that is a stressor on your marriage. I want to get that away from you. I want your children not to ever hear you fuss about money again. I want you to have peace in your home, and this could be your answer. And I know that it's certainly going to help you if you will just take some time to study some videos and write down your numbers. You have to know your numbers. What's your income? What exactly are you spending every month? And then find out how much you have left over after all of your spending's done. And that includes your giving, your haircuts, that includes everything. Okay? And get excited, because I'm excited for you. All right. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. I am just so tickled that we had so many join here tonight. I think we've had right at 700 people watching. That excites me that so many people are interested in their finances and they want to break free. Like that old Queen song, right? I want to break free. Sing with me. I'm just kidding. I don't sing. So I hope you guys have a great rest of your night, and I will see you in the next video.